What's up, everybody? Super week, super show. It's the Cincy Jungle podcasters from all of the shows on the podcast channel. I'm Anthony Cosenza, joined by almost our whole crew. No Ace Boogie tonight, unfortunately. Maybe he'll be joining us, but he had a last-minute situation come up. Hope he's doing well. We'll give our good thoughts over to our buddy Ace. We miss him, but you know, we wanted to get together again, talk some Bengals football. The Super Bowl is here, so we wanted to talk about that and maybe from a Bengals point of view and a lot of different other topics. Happy to have all of you join. We're on a bunch of different new platforms, by the way. I think we're streaming on the Cincy Jungle Twitter account. We're streaming on Zim's channel. We've got a lot of different accounts we're streaming on, so pretty stoked about that. Let's go. I'm gonna kick it over to Zim just to say what's up, because Zim's the guy, like, in your group of friends that if you haven't hung out for a long time, Zim's the guy that's like, guys, we got to get together. It's been a while. We got to get this thing going. It's been too long. So, Zim, I'm going to start with you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty damn good, fellas. I don't know. I think it's fun, you know, like when you wait this long to kind of put all the forces together, it just kind of makes it so, hey, what you guys been up to? So I think it's pretty dope. I get a chance to watch, you know, you guys show, like, you know, a couple times a week if I can. You know, at its max, like I get to watch like 2 shows and, you know, like that's it. But, you know, I like talking to you guys. So, John, why are you so ice cold? That's what the people want to know. Like, I called you ice cold the other day on Twitter and they was like, yeah, he is. He's so freezing.
What's cooler than being cool? Ice cold, right? Cool.
I don't know, man. I'm cold all the time. It's freaking freezing outside Cincy. I consider myself hot. I don't know. Like, that's just my personal preference.
What's the story with the skeleton?
The skeleton was originally, so I lived on UC's campus or just outside of it, and we had neighbors who were like art students, and they had a skeleton in their house. They brought it over to our house one time. We just like kind of partied with it, and it kind of just like stayed at our house. And we named him Randall, and unfortunately 3 of his 4 limbs have fallen off. So I think he's got like 1 arm left, and I just hung him up in the background. I think starting last season for the show, and right. I don't know, it's kind of symbolic, you know. As you're a Bengals fan, you're watching the season unfold, and you slowly just like lose life. You know, it's like the devil hanging over my shoulder. So he's just here to stay. He's Randall.
But now that you say that, I feel like that gives you an opportunity, right? As the season goes on and you have success, I vote that we should put like a garment or like a different layer of clothes on him, like a hat for Randall maybe one week if we get a W. Maybe we can extend the arm out another week, but we got to do something. We can't just have Randall chilling so lifeless. We got to get some life to the party. And I think starting with wins coming up this year, would you be on board with something like that?
I mean, sure. He watched a 2-win season with Andy Dalton getting thrashed 60 times. So that was kind of like the theme of the whole thing. Then I put a Burrow shirt on him once, you know, they were locked into the number 1 pick. He was kind of optimistic about that, but now he's kind of back to square one a little bit. So
just straight like
you can only do so much, you know.
Right. Matt's got the best sweater I think I've ever seen, though. I mean, that thing is just unbelievable.
Matt, where did you get that sweater, Matt?
It was a gift. I was looking for like this is like this is the real deal throwback sweater. I'm not sure what year it's from, but it's not the one from the real famous from the Super Bowl year. But I've got a picture of Sam Weish talking to Boomer on the sideline wearing the exact same thing. One of those years in the 80s.
Oh, that is those. Yeah, those are those sweaters from that. I think like if we ever link up, like I think we should just all have matching sweaters and just kind of like lock arms and walk down the street and stuff like that. I just think that people want to see shit like that. Like that's just my opinion.
Well, guys, we can get on out of here because Ryan McKeon says Matt Minnick's show is killing it. So the 3 of us can bounce on out. Matt can take the reins.
Matt, hey, Matt. No orange pop. Any orange pop?
None tonight. No.
But we do have a pot pie in the oven.
We got a pot pie in the oven.
How do you feel about muffins? I'm a big muffin man.
I'm a pretty big muffin guy. I like a good blueberry muffin.
I'm a lemon poppy seed guy, and I do
okay.
All right. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, Anthony, tell me, like lately, like what's on your mind when you think about Bengals? Like watching coming up, you got the Super Bowl coming up Sunday. Anything that stand out to you this Sunday? We're what are you watching for that you think that maybe the Bengals can, gravitate to? You got a plan for us? Like, what are you going to be like looking at the most on Sunday?
I'm going to try and not be too choppy. My video feed for some reason is a little choppy, so I apologize if it is that way. But
good.
These two teams that are playing kind of are constructed two different ways, right? I mean, you've got the Bucs that are kind of some of the old dogs and kind of built this all-star cast of free agents, and kind of some of them are on their last legs and trying to win that one last championship, and they've kind of constructed this team from all kinds of different ways and free agency, whereas the Chiefs, they drafted their quarterback, and they've, drafted their running back, and they drafted a lot of their offensive linemen. Unfortunately, some of those guys won't be playing this week, it seems like. So it's kind of two different ways that they've constructed their rosters a little bit. And as a Bengals fan, you kind of say, okay, I think you look hopefully a little bit more to the Chiefs, right? And you say, okay, young quarterback, maybe you draft the offensive lineman, you draft the running backs, you've got some wide receiver help, and, you kind of hope that that's the trajectory that the Bengals are hopefully going to get towards in the next couple of years. Of course, Burrow has to be healthy, he has to continue to progress, but they got to give him a little help up front. And so, I mean, that's when you look at it, I guess, with the Super Bowl, when you look at this Super Bowl through the Bengals lens, that's the way I'm kind of looking at it, is just the way the two different ways that these teams seem to be constructed. And obviously, both of them have champions on their rosters, and hopefully that's where the Bengals start to head in the next couple of years.
Right. At the same time, though, like if the Chiefs somehow manage to just fend off that Bucs pass rush with whatever offensive line that they have, it can't be used as like, oh yeah, the Bengals don't have to invest in the offensive line.
Right.
Mahomes is an alien, and they have like Mitchell Schwartz, the Eric Fisher, first round pick. I think the Canadian who opted out to help with COVID, he was also a draft pick as well. So like the fact that their offensive line is still like standing and giving Mahomes enough time is just miraculous in itself, and it's gonna be the biggest test to keep JPP and Shaq Barrett off of him. So like if they manage to do that, it's going to start narratives that should not be started. And I think we already did see it on Twitter. Like, oh yeah, you don't need a great offensive line. But no, if you have Patrick Mahomes, you can do anything. So
right. So, but that I said that online. It wasn't. I didn't word it that way. But I went over did you see that tweet? And it was just showing like the starting 5 offensive linemen for the Chiefs, showing how everybody is either a 7th rounder or undrafted as a result of, Fisher being out. And then I posed the question see, you don't have to just go get your offensive line all first round. See everybody? And everybody's like, shut up. It doesn't matter. We need all offensive line, So, but I guess my point is like, I always look for balance or best BPA. So when it comes to like a game like this, I feel like Chiefs are more so like the formula, but I got killed online for saying that.
Well,
yeah, it's fair, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's levels to it. It's like defense. Let's talk about defense for a second, because I get, whenever I talk about defense, I get hit with defense doesn't matter, right? And it's not that like when I talk about like the Bengals need to improve on their defense and what they can do in their defense, and when I say, hey, the Bengals are really close on defense, I don't mean they're close to being the Ravens. And I don't think that should be the goal, because, when I was in high school, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, but end of high school or early college years for me, you see teams like the Ravens, you see teams like the Buccaneers going off and winning the Super Bowl, with Brad Jensen and Trent Dilfer playing quarterback. Like it was those defenses that won them that Super Bowl. You can't do that anymore. Like that's not the way the league is set up. So being Baltimore, I mean, cool, but like that shouldn't be the goal. You look at all the championship game, the AFC and NFC champion defenses, they were all ranked like 7th to 12th in the league. Like, so they were like good, solid defenses, and that's what should be the goal. And that's what should be the goal. For how you're building a team, and like that's what you need. Like, yes, you need that elite offense, but you need a good, manageable defense that hopefully can create some turnovers and win some situations too.
I saw that tweet when you said that, right? And I even responded to your tweet when you said that. But don't you feel like just because this offseason that we just had and they allocated so much money to the defense this past offseason that you be kind of thinking – I'm not thinking that they're going to go back to that well this upcoming offseason. It's not a shot at the defense wins championship guy or anything like that. I want to balance that. I feel like they're already like a 15th ranked defense if they were all healthy. But how often are we going to say if healthy? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, no kid. I mean, yeah. Honestly, you look at it, and I mean, Trey Waynes was a huge factor this year. Like, if Trey Waynes was anywhere near as good as we hope he would be, you know, like that could have been a completely different thing. Obviously, the pass rush was a big issue. But we also, like, again, there was like nobody expected Dunlap and Atkins to do nothing for you this year. So like you can see on paper where they stay healthy, they're going to be all right. But yeah, like you said, like we all know that isn't a reasonable expectation in the NFL that people are going to stay healthy. We saw the lack of depth at the corner position. We see the lack of depth in the pass rush game as well. So I don't know. I just think they do need to take a balanced approach to those sort of things and be managing it, because at the end of the day, like, look, you had Trey Waynes, you had DJ Reader, and you know Von Bell was kind of a luxury thing. But like if now a year later you're saying goodbye to Geno, you already say goodbye to Dunlap, and now let's say you let Lawson and Jackson or Jackson walk, like you're worse on defense than you were a year and a half ago. So like, you can't be taking a step back in that realm. And kind of that's what I'm talking about with the offensive line. It's like not like you need to have the absolute most dominant offensive line in the game for your offense to work, but you can't suck. Like Burrow can only do so much for himself, and you know what? Like it doesn't matter. You can take the fastest receiver. You can put the best receivers on the field. They're not going to be able to get open in 2 seconds all the time. You know what I mean? So everything's got to be a minimal. Like everything, you have to have at least a minimal level of proficiency in.
Yeah.
And I think to your guys' point about what the Bengals may or may not do in free agency on defense, I think, they spent a lot of money on guys that ended up being injured, but they have investments that are still on this roster coming up in 21. Trey Waynes is one, DJ Reader's another. And so I don't know that they're really going to go outside. I think if anything, they're really going to look at the inside guys. I'm already seeing comments about Lawson and William Jackson. I know we've all probably talked about those guys ad nauseum, but I think if they're really going to make splashes on defense, I think it's to keep the known guys that they've had on their roster. They may not go outside. I think the outside signings are probably going to be on the offensive side of the ball. And just kind of going back to a little bit of a past point with the offensive line of the Chiefs and draft, develop, that sort of thing. I mean, I think this all goes back, and you can look at these two teams playing this weekend. This all goes back to systems and finding guys that fit your systems well and being able to develop them in the system that you're putting into place. And I think we've seen flashes of the quote unquote system work at times for Zach Taylor, but there's been a lot of inconsistencies on that. And I think that's something that really needs to start coming to fruition in year 3.
And just to note for last year, we talk about what they did on defense last year. They invested a lot in free agency, but 2 of their biggest resources they had last year were the first overall pick and the 33rd overall pick, and those went to offensive players. So, it's not like that's where they put it. Burrow was the biggest thing they did last year. That number 1 pick was the biggest thing they did. If they took Chase Young last year, then we'd be having a completely different conversation. We'd be in a completely different place right now.
I never thought
drafting
about
Trevor
that.
Lawrence. They'd be drafting Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
Probably talking about a different coach too. But
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so that's that's just how I look at it. And yeah, I think Anthony's right there. Like now, you added Burrow, you added T. It is time to bring in some veterans. You get Jonah, who's pretty young. It'd be nice to bring in, a real good veteran offensive lineman to shore that thing up, and yeah, definitely to invest in that way. You're gonna. I feel pretty confident they're going to invest in offense again in the first round, because I don't see a defensive player that's going to make sense for them at the 5th overall pick anyway. So that's going to be another offensive investment, but they definitely should bring in a veteran that can do something for them too.
I think when you pose that question, though, a lot of people, like on that particular tweet, I don't want to misquote you. I just think that when they were talking about, all right, like cut Geno, and somebody said something else about doing some other things, everybody naturally just said, all that money needs to go to offensive line. But the more even killed people were saying, well, wait a second, like we don't need to go get the biggest, we don't need to go sign Trent Williams for $20 million or something like that. And to your point, I don't think people were poo-pooing like defense altogether. They just were saying like, okay, like we're just going to add like the minimum defensive vet, Mike Daniels type player on the front, and then come back with a veteran corner so you're not stuck in a situation where you got Jalen Davis out there starting at corner and different things like that. So I think I don't know if I like misread some of that stuff, but I think nobody was really trying to like crap on the defense, because I saw you on there and I was like, I don't like, but my biggest fear is this. I don't want them to be a situation where we're wasting Burrow's best years by not giving him all the weapons. And I watched Tom Brady and I watched Pat Mahomes, and Tom Brady, I think, made a quote today, and he said, yeah, I think we're going to be better next year. But the one thing that they do is just keep on giving them weapons. And the only thing I could do to make sure that Burrow ascends is giving them weapons, whether that's the offensive line or if that's playmakers in space. I don't care. Whatever he says he needs to make them special, that's what I need to do. And then I'm going to bank on, like I said, the 15th ranked defense. So defensive wins championship guy wouldn't like me, because I've been saying you need to drop 30-something points a game for like 3 years, and I got killed for that too. But I just feel like the time that we're spending on the field, we need to be on the field a lot more on offense to take away possessions of our opposition, and that in itself will help Burrow.
Go back to 2019. Look at LSU's offense. That offensive line, it won the Offensive Line Award. It was 32nd in pass blocking efficiency from Pro Football Focus for like the Power 5 teams. It was dead ass average compared to the rest of college. Like, it was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't the reason why the offense was successful. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Thad Moss for a certain amount, and Terrence Marshall, just guys that just stretched the field and just let Burrow cook. Like, that was the source of why that offense was so successful, beyond just Burrow being Burrow and Joe Brady orchestrating it all. Like, that is the formula for success. And then look at the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. You have weapons that defenses can't scheme against, and they can only hope to just try to contain at least a little bit. Like, if there is a formula, that is the formula. And like Zim said, all you need is an offensive line, or like Matt said, all you need is an offensive line that's just competent. Now, of course, this is the Bengals, and their expectations are the only times that they actually address these issues is like really hard and really desperate, like 1 year late, which is what we saw with the defense last year, which is why they might go overkill with the offensive line in free agency, which would then open up the draft. But like you said, it might not be the best uses of resources if they go too much in there and ignore other needs. But like, that's, I guess, what we're thinking of. Whereas if they need to actually address an issue, which is what they seem to be doing, it's going to be like hard overkill in free agency. But that allows you to then attack where the draft is strongest, where they are, and it's probably a pass catcher at 5.
The most important question, guys, real quick. What's in the can, John?
Black cherry, Bud Light, lemonade seltzer.
Okay.
Oh, hey, I thought that was a Monster. I was going to say, you're a savage for just drinking a Monster. Like, I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at that time. And I would like run through the whole show and just be on some crazy. Yeah, you're not ready for that.
Yeah, I think you make some good points there, and perhaps Bengals fans are just afraid because
every offseason. Every offseason, it's got to be a witch hunt for the biggest deficiency, and we got to go get 100 of them. We need 100 linebackers last year. We need 100 centers before then. We need 100 corners before that. Like,
we've seen them try and do the minimal thing, and that be, extending Bobby Hart. So,
oh boy,
there's got to be a step up from that, and hey, you don't have to pay Trent Brown money. Maybe you don't have to take Penny at 5. Because I look at that as just as valuable a resource as a big money contract. Maybe you don't have to do that, but you gotta do something.
What would convince you? What would convince you not to take Penny at 5? Because John just said pass catcher is more likely at number 5. I want Jamar Chase. But what would be enough for you to say I don't have to draft Penny at 5?
Well, here's the thing. Like, friend of the show, big, Bengals Twitter draft, or well, draft two, I guess, but big on the salary cap guy. Andre Parada and I were having a conversation about this the other day. Like, the NFL is kind of backwards. Like, I think that teams would be a lot more successful in the draft if they did the draft and then free agency. Because it was a response to a tweet about from Ken Anderson about getting drafted. He was like in January. Apparently, the draft was in like January back then. So, if you think about it that way, like if you don't get a tackle, especially if you cut Bobby Hart and you don't get a tackle, you're pretty much locked in. You know what I mean? And if Penny's not there, then it's Slater or it's trading down. Maybe it's Darius. I don't know. But you're pretty much locking yourself in. I mean, I think we talk about attacking things in a minimal way. You want to you get the fifth pick. So there's 4 times that anything can happen in front of you. One of those times is going to be Trevor Lawrence, but the other 3 you don't really know about. So you can't rely on anything when you have that many unknowns in front of you. So you've got to do something. If you don't pick up a tackle, you're locked into that. If you don't do anything at receiver, and you're pretty much locked into that. Like, we are talking about a third receiver, though. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you can get Josh Reynolds for a not ridiculous contract that might work, and maybe you're running more 10 personnel if you take Josh Reynolds and you still have a chance at Chase. Obviously personnel groups and stuff. That's how those sort of things work. So you've got to invest. We got to think about free agency first, because that's going to come first. And if you don't address needs in free agency, that's where you get pigeonholed in the draft.
No, but that's what I'm telling you. That's my question. If they came out with Darrell Williams or Moton and picked up another guard for about $5 million or something like that, is that enough for you to say, okay, I can get on board with Jamar Chase?
Oh, definitely. I'm on board with Jamar Chase anyway.
Really?
Oh,
okay. Yeah. What about you, Anthony? Are you on board with what are you thinking when you go to free agency? Are you thinking like we need a tackle, we need a guard, and then that's good enough? Or you think you want to do both? Because you could sell me on Darrell Williams, go get Panay, I move Jonah to guard, and then now that's a position of strength. And now we got arguably like a top 8 offensive line in the NFL or something like that.
So as we sit here today, and I have a lot more film review to look at and guys to look at. I've got Penny and Jamar Chase as my top 2 guys for the Bengals to take at number 5. You can make an argument for Slater. I know there's a lot of people that are quoting Daniel Jeremiah and people around the league, and they think Slater's just as good, if not better, and or more ready right now than Sewell. I think if you saw Sewell play, if he didn't opt out this season and you saw him play pretty close, even if it was pretty close to the level that he had played the previous 2 years, then I think you would have been like, oh, we got a host change there. I think you would have been like, Sewell's the guy. But for me, I think in terms of what the Bengals do at 5, it totally depends on what they do in free agency. John and I have talked about it on our show. It's the Bengals don't like to go into John talked to Duke Tobin last year, and he point blank said this: we don't like to really go into the draft having glaring needs. We like to use free agency to address needs, and then kind of go most of the time best player available in the draft. So that's what they like to do. Like I said, right now, without anything happening, Penny has my vote at number 5 because they haven't made any free agency moves. But if they go in free agency and they get a Taylor Moton, a Darrell Williams, someone to fill out the tackle spot, you have, Jonah's coming back healthy, and you feel good about things on the offensive line at that point. I could see then, hey, we don't need the tackle at 5. We can get the wide receiver help. John's going to walk off the show because I've said this 78 times on our program, but hey, the Cincinnati Bengals have 4 impending free agents in their wide receiver group, so they need help there too. And so that makes a pretty strong argument for Jamar Chase at number 5, or one of the Alabama receivers in the top 10 as well. So, there's a lot of different ways you can go at it. It's just, which way do you want to attack it, right? And which way makes more financial sense for the team, I guess, because that's how they really look at both processes as well.
people talk about BPA all the time, and obviously it's relevant at the 5th overall spot. But when you're that high in the draft, I feel like, Kyle Pitts is also should be on everyone's radar.
Yep.
But if you're that high in the draft, you have to be looking at things like I'm not expecting to be here again anytime soon. That should be the expectation. So your goal should be to get someone that you deem rare and is actually worth that pick, which is why like BPA matters and the board matters. But ultimately, these guys are going to have 1As next to their name. And it's all going to be 1As. It's like top of the first round type players. Sewell, Chase, Pitts, Waddle, if you want to include them, they're all going to be in that tier, and they're all kind of interchangeable depending on what you need. So if you, for example, like what Zim said, if you pick up like a Matt Filer from Pittsburgh to be a guard, and you pick up a Darrell Williams at tackle, you have those spots solidified. Sewell is still a good pick. Don't get me wrong. It would still be a good pick because he's a rare player, and he would just solidify a need even more so. But if you're at that spot, and even if Sewell may not be like, or maybe if Chase is not like right above Sewell on your board, he's still that quality of player, and he would fit an even bigger need at that point. That's how you have to look at it, because ultimately you just have to leave that spot if you don't trade back with one of the rare players in order to maximize the value of it.
No, I'm with you. I guess I just started watching like film on some of these guys, and I went back and watched the old Jamar Chase game, whatever, and I just walked away from it and just said, he's better than Justin Jefferson. And I mean, Justin Jefferson to me is like rookie of the year. I don't know. To pass on that will be kind of crazy, but I believe everything you just said too. It kind of is based on what do you do right before then.
A lot of talk in the chats, guys, about Kyle Pitts. Do we want to go there? I mean, that's where we're talking Jamar Chase. We're talking.
He's in the he should be in the conversation.
He should be. And there's a good question here. Antoine Malone says
at number 5 though.
Five.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
This isn't Kyle Brady.
Because I think I could get down a couple spots and still get him between 8 and 11.
But are you sure you're going to be able to find a trade back partner?
No, but if that's on the table, and we're never going to know this, but if the Bengals were posed that same conundrum or whatever, like I think I could go back and still get him.
The only reason why I think there's going to be some massive movement into the top 5 and top 10, look at what's going on with quarterbacks around the league this year, right? I mean, you've got, who knows if Drew Brees is retiring, probably so, right? Who knows what happens with Tom Brady? He's talking like he still wants to play, but maybe that's not the case if he wins this weekend, right? Maybe he says, I'm going out on top, and that's it. So you may have teams that want to rush up in the top 5, top 10 to get a quarterback of the future, and then you can move back maybe a couple spots and get a Kyle Pitts. Antoine Malone asked, good highlights, but is he a little small? Size-wise, he's 6'6", 240-ish. A lot of people are like, is he Kelsey? Is he Gronk? No, he's not that built. To me, he's more like the guy from the Raiders, Darren Waller, or like a Jared Cook type of guy. Just a guy that's just built right now a little bit more like a big receiver, and not so much doing the inline blocking stuff. But that is a weapon, I think, that can be utilized in this offense. CJ Uzomah coming off a bad injury and in the final year of his contract as well. Who knows what you're going to get more out of Drew Sample. So I know you guys have watched a lot of them so far. I know, unfortunately, Ace isn't here. I know he's been talking about him a lot too. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on him and the viability of him in this offense.
He's definitely on the Kyle Pitts train. I think me and him both got on Kyle Pitts like it was towards the end of the season where we just started like seeing like highlights and it was like, yeah, that's a dude. The one thing I worry about from Kyle Pitts is, I might be a little younger, right? But this fan base is there. You drafted number 5, much like John Ross. Like you gotta blow the doors off of people to get drafted that high, unless it was like an offensive lineman and we just didn't hear anything about him and Joe Burrow's not getting sacked, right? To be drafted that high at what I think is the biggest learning curve at the 2 positions in the NFL is tight end and linebacker as far as the learning curve. Going from college to NFL, I worry about his blocking and different things like that. I believe in him. And I believe that Joe Burrow will make Kyle Pitts an animal, like out the gates. It wouldn't matter. But I just worry about the fan base's like overall acceptance of it and the second guessing. Like I'm one of them guys, I hit the gas. Like if that's the pick, that's the pick. Let's put it in, and I live with whatever happens. It is what it is. But our fans are not wired that way. And if he doesn't come out with 1,000 yards, because everybody's like, yeah, watch Kelsey. Watch it like year one. Like, that's your expectations? Like, nah, like, you got to simmer down a little bit. Like, I just don't see that year one from – in contrast, I do see Jamar Chase possibly going 1,000 yards, like, off the break. Like, no questions about it. Ready to go. And I think the fans would hate him.
I think both guys could do that. Like any concerns that I think people have with Pitts, they're alleviated because you still have Uzoma and Sample there, like to do all the things that people expect.
I think that's less snaps though.
No,
is it? Because if you lose Green,
personnel.
Yeah, exactly. If you lose AJ Green and you don't replace him with like a top tier starter, then you're down with 2 competent starters of receivers, and you have a whole bunch of tight ends. You can use 12 personnel in ways that other teams use 11, and you can have Kyle Pitts lined up out wider in the slot anywhere. He did it all in Florida. He might this might be subjective, but he might be the guy with the least amount of risk in this draft aside from Trevor Lawrence. I'm just throwing that out there.
And I'll just say too, I mean, like they put Sample out at the number 1 receiver too, like. They put Uzama out there. Like, you can put one of the other tight ends because that guy doesn't always have to be the guy. And you saw that in LSU's offense a lot too, where it was Thad Moss out there. It was Edwards-Helaire, and he wasn't even really a viable option on that play all the time. Like, sometimes it's just a dude to occupy that space, and you're really running the game on the inside. Here are the things about Pitts. Number 1, if they draft Pitts, that is not a need pick at all.
Right. Right.
They don't need a tight end. They are fine with those 2 dudes. Assuming help from CJ, they are fine with those 2 guys. So it is an incredible pick because it is not a need, because you're improving. It's freaking Randy Moss when you already have like one of the best receiver duos in the NFL, like that type of pick. Like, you're just like, nope, we're going to go out and we're going to get freaking hella better with this pick. So that's what I love about it. Now, yeah, I wonder about his blocking. Is he more of the Evan Ingram than those guys? And honestly, like when we look at those high-level guys, that's part of what makes them good, is because when Prime Gronk is on the field, when Ertz is on the field, when Kelsey's on the field, like, you got to make a tough decision on defense about what you're going to do. How are you going to match up on those guys? But you also have to have guys that can play the run, that can play the extra gap that they can create. And you're not really getting that with Pitts right now. But that's fine. And I think Anthony, AC had a great point there about Uzama's contract, because I think you can bring him in and, to Zim's point about the tough transition, bring him in, use him primarily as a receiver. And then you can kind of wean him in on it and, get through that year. You play a lot of 12 personnel, even though you're not going to line him up with his hand in the dirt very often. They love big receivers that can block anyway. I mean, that's you see that you see Tate, a pass blocker. You know what I mean? Like you see that stuff. So you see guys like Tate. You see, in camp, I made my long shot to make the team, who ended up being on the practice squad all year, was Trenton Irwin, because Trenton Irwin is a hell of a blocker. like they like guys that can do that stuff. So you use him in that way right now, let him work himself in, and then like the strengths and weaknesses of Sample versus Pitts in a year, if you let CJ walk, again, you got a pretty decent little tandem there that you can kind of work off of. Sample had a pretty good year this year, I thought. He got a lot better pass blocking in particular. So, I mean, there's value to that. You can use that in different ways. Having a good pass blocker at tight end, being able to put him on the field. Now you come out in 12 personnel with Pitts and Sample, and you got Joe Mixon or maybe Gio or whoever. Sample's your pass blocker, and you can split out Mixon. So you can do all kinds of different things with that. It gives you a lot of flexibility in your offense. So I don't know. And to me, look, I get why people are on board with Waddle. I love Devontae Smith. I just don't see him in this offense.
Not at all.
I get why people are on board with Waddle, but I don't know that they really value separation and just pure out speed the way we do. No judgment on my part on what's right or what's wrong. I'm just saying I don't know if they value it. And I think if you look at Chase is the type of dude that belongs in this offense. Not because he's caught a ton of balls and made a ton of plays playing with Joe Burrow before, but just because of the way he plays and the way I think his athletic ability is underrated. I think he plays a lot faster than many times. You know what I mean? But also, being able to make those, contested catches, go up and get the ball, which we saw. John Ross wasn't going to do that. So
I think the reason you're saying that though is because of the efficiency with the coaching staff is in terms of play calling and scheme. When we're going to watch the Super Bowl coming up Sunday, right? I know that you don't hate Zach as much as the next person based on the shows that I watch from you, right? But when I go watch some of the elite coaching, I probably would entertain Devontae Smith because a lot of people ask me that right after that. I just don't have any faith that the coaching staff is going to do what it takes to get him freed up in space. And when they had the undersized guys like John Ross or whatever, they never did some of the things in motion that I see like the Chiefs and the Rams do with like some of their wide receivers. And that's the thing that troubles me. That troubles me with that. When I watch Jamar Chase, is that in a one-on-one type situation, which he's going to have to do, what we saw that AJ Green failed at this year or whatever, is that you have to violently catch the football and do it in a way that doesn't require elite coaching to get you open to do that. Pure athleticism and just the will that a lot of guys don't have and some guys do have it, and Jamar Chase has it. And I think that's it subconsciously. You're probably just watching it and just saying, look, I need more of a short-handed person that's more of a dog. Devonta Smith is more like, not to take anything away from T.Y. Hilton, but I just don't see like that type of wide receiver working in this offense, and I don't see them scheming him open like they would. Like Jamar Chase, it doesn't matter if he's open. Like I just think it's gonna work itself out, and I think that's the reason why I lean more towards him. I think you got to do a lot more for like a Devonta Smith or a Waddle to make that transition to the NFL.
So a couple of things that Matt said about Pitts, in terms of the arc of what you need to do initially with him, where he can't pass block. If you remember when Tyler Eifert came to this team, that they eased him into that pass blocking role, and then later in his career, as you saw, I know he missed a lot of time, but in his final year in Cincinnati, you saw him kind of chip block more, team up, double team block more in the passing game than he did initially, because they had Gresham earlier in his career, and Gresham was doing a little bit more inline blocking than Eifert was, and then Eifert kind of was this pass, this reception machine, and then he morphed a little bit. He's still known as a pass catching tight end, but I think there's a little bit of a parallel there between those two guys. And to your guys' point about Chase and Pitts, John and I talked about this a little bit. The two major deficiencies in the Bengals offense last year was a lack of the big play, the deep ball. Jamar Chase, 21.2 yards per catch average in 2019. That'll help the deep ball problem. And then I'm looking in terms of an argument for Pitts. I think this is reliable information, but I see the Bengals as 30th in the league in red zone percentage last year offense. So a guy like Pitts would work very well in the red zone, especially if you have a tall guy like Auden Tate. You can throw those fades. You've got a tall guy like T. Higgins that can make those contested catches. You add in a 6'6" reception machine like Kyle Pitts into that mix, and all of a sudden you've got a big fix to your red zone issue. So I think that's an argument for those two guys that really make a lot of sense, maybe even over some of the big time offensive linemen in the class.
Just real quick, because we have a lot of people in the comments who are really big on Chase, and if you guys want to know my thoughts on Chase, just go to my Twitter and look at my pinned tweet. But I got a question from a guy, Philip Rogers. He emailed me a couple days ago. He was asking me, we're talking about Kyle Pitts, and he's like, well, why would they take Kyle Pitts when they could just use Auden Tate in that role? And it's the same thing with like, oh yeah, CJ Zoma and Drew Sample, they're just going to get better with other receivers. Kyle Pitts is not like anything that the Bengals have on their roster. That's the whole point of quantifying how rare of an athlete and how much of an option that he is. Like, obviously Chase is fantastic in his own right for all the reasons that we discussed, But the reason Pitts is in this conversation is because he's not redundant to anything. He's not like any tight end or any big body receiver that the Bengals have. He adds a dimension to that, and I think that is the angle that we need to look at with this.
Yeah, and kind of my point of bringing up Chase there is I think that for what I think the Bengals want and for what I think Burrow likes, like he's already got his Jefferson. He's got his slot where running them routes over the middle. I think he likes those guys that they go up and get the ball. I think he's good at throwing those balls, and I think that's going to be a big part of seeing the deep ball come out in this offense. Is guys being able to make those plays. And look, Pitts and Chase are guys that do that.
Exactly.
Really, really well with those contested passes. They're doing it in slightly different parts of the field. But to me, I think that Pitts, after Chase, I think Pitts is the second best fit as a receiver in this draft. If that makes any sense.
It does.
But I love what Anthony's saying there, too, because, remember a few years ago when, the Bengals weren't that good? They weren't good. It was after 15. They weren't good, but their red zone offense was still really good because of Eifert.
2018?
Yeah. Give him that guy.
Right. I'm with you. If anybody knows the value of a tight end on a seam route, it's a Bengals fan, right? Or watching Joe Burrow on back shoulders. That's what I'm basing my stuff off of. I just lost a little bit of faith based on some of the stuff I've seen from the coaching staff this past year to just be creative. There were times where they were super creative, and it was whoa. And, there was a 3-game stretch around the time when Joe got hurt where, the offense was on fire. I think me and you did a show or something. I was fired up around that time. And to me, it goes back to your point that we were just talking about probably 10 minutes ago, is that if I know that I can make that position, the one common thing that I know that I have going for me is Joe Burrow, right? Even after a torn ACL, I got to do everything in my power right now at this very moment to get a guy what he wants. So if Joe feels I'm not for players making the decisions for me, but I would definitely get his input on who's the guy, Joe. And if it's Kyle Pitts, like I said, at number 5, I could be on board for it. You guys made a really, really convincing argument tonight where I'm just because I love Kyle Pitts too. I worry about the production early in his career. But I guess, after talking to you guys, maybe I shouldn't. But because I'm looking at it like a typical tight end. One of the things I know, when Hawkinson came straight to the league, it was – you didn't see the benefits of Hawkinson until this year. The rookie year, my Lions fans and stuff like that, it was just I just thought he was going to be a lot better. And I was man, it's a learning curve. He's going to be better. Look at this play. Look at this play. Look at how he's blocking on this play. Yeah, he had 30 yards, but, and then you saw year 2, he take that next step. Bengals fans are very impatient. And then the fact that Sample, because he was drafted where he was drafted, it's almost it's not going to be good enough for them. Just me taking Drew Sample. And I worry about that same thing, I guess, from Kyle Pitts. But like you said, if the coaching staff is smart enough to put him in a position to get those reps, get those snaps, and be productive, then why the hell not?
It would seemingly be a little out of character, which is a good thing. You know what I mean? People have been talking about Joe Thuney forever.
Right.
Do you want Thuney?
Let's take it there. Let's go towards free agent offensive line. Let's go wish list around.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of positivity in the chats, guys. A lot of Bengals are going to do nothing in free agency. Bengals aren't going to do anything in free agency.
We're only talking about pass catchers because we're hearing everything about they're going to address the offensive line. So what does that actually look like? What will that actually look like, and what do you guys want that to look like?
Spending a lot of money on a guard, to the point I was starting to get to here, would be out of character for them, especially an outside guard, which would be beautiful. It'd be nice to see something different. You know what I mean? Even though, and I think the analytics support not really spending a lot of money on guard because it's not as valued. You don't have as much of an impact on the pass game as the tackle does. John and I each interviewed Austin Gale leading up to this season, and he talked about that, how Quentin Nelson might be the best guard of all time, but if they'd be smarter to play him a tackle and they get more value out of him when you look at things like WAR and other measures like that. So, which by the way is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of the idea of, hey, let's draft this guy and let's move Jonah to guard, because then I feel like you're not getting very much out of Jonah by doing that. But because it's the Bengals and because out of character is good for them, even you know what I mean? Like, even if it doesn't look great, even if the numbers don't support it, sometimes it's like, all right, it's good that they're trying something. It's good they're doing something a little bit different from my perspective. So that's what I think. Like, maybe not a great idea to spend a bunch of money on a guard, but it'd be nice if they did it. I saw a stat there today on Thuney too. Like, he's like missed like one game in like 3 years or something. Like,
I don't even know if he's missed any. Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything before he comes to the Bengals.
I know. Exactly. That is tempted fate right there.
I don't want Tony. Not for $14 million. And I think a family member or something, I don't know if they're watching tonight, they like follow me and they posted like Tooney to the Bengals in their story, and I posted it a couple times and stuff like that. But I just think for me, it would be more like the Bengals mode, like go get Moton, go get Darrell Williams, follow that up with I don't know, maybe Austin Blythe or somebody, because we're gonna come with Hopkins injured at the center position. So I know I could play Blythe at center, guard, maybe Xavier Suafilo gets a little bit better. And to me, that right there is good enough. You know who I really want though on the defensive side? I want Leonard Floyd. Has anybody said that to you? Like, that's who I really, really, really want.
I don't think I've ever heard those words in the last 6 years that Leonard Floyd's been in the league.
His season just now with the Rams or whatever was really, really good.
He was good in the postseason too.
Huh. He was really, really good. 10.5 sacks. Love what he did. I think he's the perfect Dunlap replacement. Don't know what he would get in the open market, but he's the perfect person to me to put across from Lawson. Like, that's a name that nobody talks about. We did like a mock draft series, me and Ace or whatever, and then I just picked him one time. Then I started looking at stuff. But I just really, really, like, you talked about defense earlier, like just give me that one guy and those other guys coming back, in the combination with those two, like the tackle and the guard, go to the draft, and I damn near I can pick whatever I want at that point. If the roster somehow gets healthy, are we going to talk about the doctors today with Shaq Barrett? No.
Well, yeah. There's another comment there.
Does anyone here have a medical degree? Because I don't feel qualified to talk about reading an MRI.
Yeah, I don't either.
Show us on Randall.
Yeah.
So like Shaq Barrett had apparently something very phantom right here. And also his arm came off, and then he went to Tampa Bay and had 30 sacks, and in the end.
Yeah. And there's people. Let's bring him back. I don't. You know what? I think unfortunately that bridge. It seems as if you heard the interview with Barrett this week,
they're gonna find something in his hamstring.
Yeah,
it's gonna be something in his pelvis.
I think that bridge is burned, unfortunately. So,
man, I'd be taking up for the stat. I'd take up for the stat every year. I'd be like, man, it's just luck. You know, people get injured every day, bro. Like, you know, I hear that, I'm like, oh Lord.
I have a Tooney take though, and I've had this for a little bit. I feel like we've talked about this before, but like Joe Tooney to me is DJ Reader, because DJ Reader before 2020 would not have been on any Bengals fans' radar, because when was the last time that the Bengals valued nose tackle? Like, they signed Pecco to like a $20 million deal like 10 years ago, and that was it. They had Pecco for a decade. They replaced him with Andrew Billings, a fourth rounder, and they had Josh Tupou, like an undrafted guy, backing him up. They never valued nose tackle. Then they signed DJ Reader to the biggest contract a nose tackle's ever signed before in that offseason. So I get the history with guard, but they signed DJ Reader because they felt like he was a good fit, and he filled like a need that they thought. Even though DJ Reader himself is not as valuable as like a pass rusher on the defensive line, which is like, it's the same thing. It's a guard. Like, it's not as valuable as a tackle. But if a guard in Tooney costs less real money than like a Taylor Moton, that just, I don't. It still just makes more sense to me. Even though like I think everyone else would rather get the top tier tackle because he matters more in pass protection. For the Bengals' sake, it still kind of lingers in my mind as something that I could definitely see them doing.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like they took 28 years to get over Big Daddy Wilkinson.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, hell no.
Yeah. And you know, the last guy that they paid, especially in outside free agency, paid well and ended up continuing to pay him is Bobby Williams. That was a guard that I can remember. I mean, they drafted other guards. They tried them out. They have these little rental deals that they've done, and I could be wrong. I'd probably need to do a little more research on it. But Bobby Williams, just at the top of my mind, is kind of the guy that I remember the most. And so they've let other valuable guys walk, Steinbach, Zeitler, guys that they drafted in high rounds that they developed, and then they let him go elsewhere, and they didn't pay him. So it would be a really big changing of the guard, if you will, if they get an outside guard and bring him in. And I saw someone put up a comment about Scherf versus Tooney. They're pros and cons for each. I think, John, you and I talked about this on one of the episodes, right?
Yeah, and I think Matt kind of agrees with that. I think Scherf would just honestly fit better here because he's playing the position that they're going to sign Tooney for if they do sign him at right guard. And Scherf played 5 years for Bill Callahan. It's the same freaking scheme that Pollock is going to run. The transition seems very seamless. And I think you're minimizing risk there, even though there's injury history with Scherf.
Yeah, and I think this team is loaded with dudes that like playing on the left side. Mm-hmm. Like Hakeem played forever on the left side. I believe Fred Johnson was a left side guy. Williams is a left side guy. Those are just tackles. But Spain and Suafilo primarily have played on the left side. I think you get Scherf, who's actually a right guard. Let him play right guard, solidify that position. And honestly, because a lot of people want two guards, and that'd be awesome. But I think if you go into next year with Xavier Suafilo and Michael Jordan. So you got Xavier Suafilo as the guy, and you got Michael Jordan as hopefully the future. You don't give up on him, but you get him out here for now. I see you making faces, and I get it. But I don't know. I don't get why everybody's really excited about Quentin Spain.
Me neither.
Didn't play as well as Xavier Suafilo did this year. I get that he got hurt, and that scares us because this shit happens to the Bengals all the time. But Suafilo looked pretty good when he played, and he graded fairly well when he played. He has spent the majority of his career playing on the left side. I think you're okay with that, particularly if you set it up so that is your weakest spot by going out and signing a right guard, a top flight right guard, and doing something at tackle, maybe drafting one at 5. And, if you've got Penne, Splash Slater, Scherf, Hopkins coming off injury, and Jonah Williams, I don't know your Suafilo.
Yeah, the Suafilo weakness all of a sudden really, really lessens, right?
Yeah. The reason I'm gonna tell you exactly why everybody's on the Spain thing, because was that the Steelers game where Spain is in there next to Adeniji, right? Is that the game where they kick ass? That's the first. Everybody was hobbled.
That's the Titans.
Yeah, it was the Titans.
Okay, yeah, and then all right.
Yeah, it came in the second series.
So everybody remembers that, right? And then everybody also remembers the fact that Xavier Suafilo played half of a game, and then he was injured.
Yeah.
Right? That's all it is. Same thing with Bobby Hart. It's what do you give up? 3 sacks on the whole entire year? But they remember his worst reps or the highlights that were memes all over Instagram this past year, or the shortcomings last year. A lot of people in the comments are saying cut Bobby Hart. No, I want to restructure Bobby Hart, and I want him to back up whoever we come in with. That's what I want to do. He's not that bad to me. But as fans, as people that are passionate about the team, you're going to remember, your last act. It's just like show business. You know what I mean? You're only as big as your last hit. And Xavier's last hit was really nothing memorable. A lot of people want to keep Von Bell just on the strength of, he knocked out, he's not going anywhere. He's under contract. But he knocked out Juju. Or we remember Mackenzie Alexander high-stepping, on the pick or whatever, right? So he gets 1 year, $4 million, right? But I would argue there's probably another slot guy that's out there right now that they could probably get more for that fits better in the defense than Mackenzie Alexander. But the average fan remembers a lot of the big plays that, stand out to them in that regard. In Spain that day when he kicked ass with Adeniji is the main reason. I think you're looking at the overall thing and you're assessing these games game by game. But fans are not doing that. They're just remembering I remember he kicked ass that night when we had nobody.
This is a key point by Sean in one of our YouTube channels here. Frank Pollock might get a lot of these guys out of these guys too. I mean, it's basically, how much faith? Obviously, they've got a lot of faith in him because they made him a run game coordinator as well, along with the offensive line coach. So it's a matter of how much faith do you have in that coach? How much faith do you have in the growth of these quote unquote offensive minded coaches in Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, et cetera, to get the most out of whatever talent you have there, because they have had minimal talent on the offensive line, and it has not been pretty. And when it has been pretty, it's been for like one game samples, like you guys have been talking about against the Titans and stuff, and it has not been consistent.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like some of these guys, I'm seeing a lot of negative comments about Michael Jordan in the chat here. Look, I get it. I'm not that's why I'm not saying go into it with him. He had a pretty positive trajectory going into his first season, and then went out. Like he showed some good things, and then nothing happened. Why is somebody not developing? A lot of times it's due to coaching. Now, if you don't like Michael Jordan, I get it. Maybe it's Hakeem. Maybe Hakeem can bump inside the guard. Maybe he could be the future. My point is that if you go out and solidify the right side, Xavier Su'a-Filo, you're going to be fine with at left guard. If he's your fifth best lineman, like definitively your fifth best lineman, and by the way, in the scenarios we're talking about, maybe not year one for a rookie tackle, but pretty quickly, Trey Hopkins is your fourth best lineman. That is what he should be.
Yes.
like that. Now you got a line. You can make that work.
Folks have been hating on Trey Hopkins ever since he became a starter because the expectations of him is so high because he's the second best offensive lineman and does him no favors. He's a really good player, but he should not be your second best guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's made a good little career for himself based on how he came to the NFL, how he came to the Bengals, and how he had to endure a lot to get to not only be a starting center but also get a good contract. And he has been proven worth it. But I really like what you guys just said there about how he should be down the pecking order in terms of overall talent around him on that offensive line. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Was he on the practice squad like 7 times or something?
Oh, they cut him. He got hurt.
Like,
it was
you gotta love the guy for how hard he's worked and how far he's come with it. And he can be a big piece of this offensive line, but he shouldn't be a cornerstone of the offensive line.
And yes, TB83_, he is the second best lineman they have, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Currently,
right now. Yeah. But the plan is go sign 2 guys, and then he's not.
Right.
We're signing draft. Yep. Now you got something.
That hour went by fast.
Sure did. Let me just ask you randomly, like who's winning Sunday? Chiefs, Bucks? Who you got?
Chiefs. Anyone else?
Anyone? Anthony?
I'm waiting to see if Matt goes first. I don't know. I really don't know. I keep saying.
Have you thought about it?
I think there's going to be. I think Brady does it again. I really think Brady does it again. I think everything screams Chiefs, but somehow I just think I think there's a story to be written there. That's just my romanticizing of the game. I guess I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised either way.
This year, like everything is pointed. Like there's been the age-old debate, and age-old is probably pretty accurate considering how old these people are. But are the Patriots Brady or are the Patriots Belichick? And Patriots aren't doing it. If Brady can beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl, that's content all year long for NFL writers, all off season long talking about that. So it definitely is a good storyline. And I don't know, like they've got a lot too.
They got a lot.
They got so much.
Before we went on air, I was telling John and Matt, I was telling them how I felt like Antonio Brown was a full participant today. And I don't know if it's just so many years of him kicking our ass. Like, I just really think he's going to have an impact on the game on Sunday. So if anybody's got any bets or anything like that, there's a lot of good bets out there for Antonio Brown. I feel like he's going to show up. and it's going to surprise some people. And then also, if Kelsey goes for 100-something yards, then everybody's going to say Kyle Pitts is the pick, right? But one thing that I'm thinking about, like I've just been watching Kelsey this whole week too, and just like watching all these interviews, and he's got Bearcats jerseys on, he's got the old Kenyon Martin jersey on, like my favorite team of all time, right? And now I'm suddenly just like, okay, like all right, like let Kelsey just represent for us one more time. Like I'm on board with them now. But I do believe what you're saying, Anthony. Like Bucks. Yeah, like this is, like them being a 3. I don't know. I just think it's closer than a lot of people think.
Does Brady? Do you guys think Brady walks if he wins? Is he done?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Wow. Okay, I think he might be. But
they're gonna have to scrape that man off with a spatula.
Nope.
Yeah, maybe.
They asked him, "What is he gonna play the past 45?" He said, "Yeah, I think so." Like that was like last week, right? I mean, he's not walking away.
How about like, and I think John's a little bit, follows these stats a little bit more closely than I do. So I'd like to know your opinion on this. Kelsey, I just saw this earlier, like yesterday, actually. Kelsey and Gronk, same age.
Insane.
Which, because of the injuries and Gronk's brief retirement and stuff, like that's part of it. But the other part of it was Gronk came out in 2010 and Kelsey came out in 2013. So, I mean, is there anything we can take from that in terms of like breakout age and those sort of statistics or in the value of any of that stuff? Or
as someone who watched Kelsey his entire college career, those days were amazing, by the way. Like he was like a wildcat quarterback for a little bit, but he was also like a central part of that passing offense for a little bit. He was just so old, and it really is rare for a guy to come into the league at 24 and then become a future Hall of Famer. Like that's not normal. But it is with tight ends. Like
they're both extremes.
Yeah, and he's a fantastic athlete, and he produced at a high level in college. Like that's 2 check marks that really go hand in hand. But yeah, like he came in and then he took like a couple years with Kansas City with Alex Smith. But as soon as Mahomes got in there, it was done. It's over. And that's the thing that I look with this game. Like everything that the Bucks do well defensively, the Chiefs can easily exploit. Like it's going to be all on that Bucks pass rush to at least limit the Chiefs. Like the over under for this game is 56, and the only reason why it's going to be under maybe is because there's thunderstorms.
Right.
The way that the Bucks press, I just don't see how they're going to do that. I don't know how they're going to do that with the Chiefs. That's the one team you can't press like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder about that. I like that. Another bet too. Shaq Barrett, half a sack. Half. And half. Half. And the odds on that, I mean, you can make a lot of money. I don't know where you guys bet, but
there's a lot of people already noting, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, that the fact that the Chiefs' offensive line is a little bit of a mess this week. So it just seems like that's a layup right there, right?
John, do you ever watch games like this and then like secretly just go watch guys that you believed in? Like, weren't you a Vita Vea guy? No, not really.
Not really, no. He was good, but
were you a Devin White guy?
I was more of a Devin White guy, yeah.
I think next year he's going to be the best linebacker in football.
He definitely has the potential to be. I mean, again, young, productive, and athletic. Like those things just go hand in hand, and he's got bodies in front of him to just clean up everything. So,
yeah, White was a dude, like freaking stud tackler, fast as hell. I mean, like that guy was everywhere. Like he was above and beyond. I didn't love Bush coming on, but Bush is kind of like proven that he's a lot closer to that than what I thought he was. But I was a big fan of White. Yeah, Vita, like I don't think he gives you enough of and I didn't think he gave you enough in the pass game to value where they took him at for that position. I don't know. I think it's a lot of things that we look at like that NFL teams don't.
Now I just wonder, like what you guys watching probably a lot more film than I do. Do you secretly like just kind of want to see your prospects that you were really high on like perform well?
100%. Juan Thornhill for the Chiefs. He's balling out right now.
You know what? It's funny you say that because I was looking at my phone a little bit ago and I was actually just checking on an injury update on Antoine Winfield because I was going to make the bold prediction that Winfield gets a pick and like the game sealing pick or something like that. So I love me some Antoine Winfield.
He's a dog. What's the other dude that's from Cincinnati? He hurt his shoulder last week. Safety. Somebody told me in my show in the comments, but if the last Bucks game in the last playoff game, every single pass that came, like they kind of playing like an Avon Bell type of role. I think it's like Greenwood or something. What is this guy's name? Anyway,
Whitehead? Is it Jordan Whitehead?
Somebody in the comments probably gonna have to tell me. He's from the Natty, is what I was told. But
he went to UC or he's from the area?
No, he's just from the area.
Oh, okay.
But,
I don't know.
And I think he hurt his shoulder, and I was like commenting even on Twitter. I was like, "Who is this dude?" I think it's like number 33 or something like that. But he was coming downhill, just cracking people. I'm trying to think of what it was. Somebody's gonna say it though. But yeah, it's the Buck safety. The dude is no joke. I hadn't seen him because Mike
Edwards.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, he went to Kentucky.
He went to Kentucky. I like me some Mike Edwards too,
bro.
Yeah, Cincy Tucky, it is what it is.
The last time I saw a Bucks game was probably like week 6-8, and I just so glued in on David and White. I don't remember him saying that, but that last playoff game, killing. Dude was killing. He was all over the field. I couldn't keep my eyes off of him.
I'm going to throw this out there too, by the way. It's not really – if they sign Jackson, it's not a priority, but I loved Winfield last year, and there's another NFL junior out there this year, and Asante Samuel. Freaking dude.
That's a generational talent then.
The guy is so flipping hippie.
I like what you did there.
I stole that joke so cleanly from today.
All right. Let me. Have you seen? All right. So I did a mock yesterday, right? Samuel's on the board, and I don't know if you guys have seen Basham from Wake Forest. Yeah. So like I want edge really, really bad, but I understand. Like, do you think Samuel makes it to the second round?
Maybe, but probably not. It just depends on the quarterback run too.
Yeah,
because I can see Basham being there. He's like on most boards, he's like the third or fourth rated, defensive end. So I watched like 2 full games of him or whatever. Every tackle he had was like the most violent thing I've ever seen. It was all choke slams.
I think Basham is a great fit. Because he's a really good run defender and he can rush the passer. Yep. He honestly kind of reminds me of Carlos. And he's pretty big, so maybe he could play 5 technique too in some situations, like in some of the 3-4 stuff. If he had some more speed in the field, I like him a lot. I think it's a great fit. He and Patrick Jones are my 2 favorite edges right now. Patrick Jones would probably be more of a stand-up guy. He reminds me of Chandler Jones a lot, actually. He's a big, long dude, can flip and run.
There's a reason Boogie looks like a grown man. He's gonna be 24 in his rookie year. If you want to talk about Kelsey, like that's a grown man already. So immediately he's gonna be good because he's already grown.
There was a question, guys. Sorry, we're talking Super Bowl a little bit, and I know we're talking bets and all kinds of stuff. This is from Dalton, our good buddy. Just a little quick segue there.
If you guys don't know, this guy Dalton makes some of the best edits all over the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Come out on Twitter. I don't know his Twitter name, but he tags me in all that stuff. But
Dalton's awesome stuff.
But yeah, he's dope. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just tailgate style food for the Super Bowl. I don't know if Super Bowl is probably going to be quite different for a lot of people this year based on safety reasons. But if you guys have a go-to Super Bowl food, I think it's just a fun little question that we got.
I'll tell you what. I mean, Cincinnati's obviously Skyline dip. Hot dog weenies in Skyline dip, like pigs in a blanket in Skyline dip. Actually underrated. You don't just need chips.
One dish that I always eat at a Super Bowl party that I would never eat on a regular day is meatballs.
Yeah.
Every Super Bowl party I've ever been to, meatballs always kill.
Yeah. There's Dalton's Twitter handle there, so go check it out. Yeah, he does a lot of cool. Yeah. Good dude. I actually met Dalton in Seattle in 2019. Really good guy. Really nice guy. Yeah. Went to the game there. Really good guy.
You can't really go wrong with baked beans. You can't really go wrong with chips and salsa, of course. You really can't go wrong with chicken wings unless they're fatty. I like drums. I'm a flat guy.
Really?
I'm a flat guy. But because some of those drummies get real fat and they get kind of gamey, and I don't want that extra stuff. I want the lean chicken. And I wanted to go straight to it. Give me back my juice, son. All right, and those are the main things. I think I focus on how not to mess up the Super Bowl party. Like I don't really have like a go-to. My family makes these things called jalapeno poppers that I think are disgusting, but they love them.
There's this Mexican place by where I live, and they do this deal. It's the most basic little things, but for some reason they have mastered this little snack. It is a mini bean and cheese burrito. They're probably like, a little rectangle like that, and they are just unbelievable. So little mini bean and cheese burritos. They do a little taquito, and then they have bomb guac, bomb salsa. So when you get like really good salsa, good chips, some good Mexican food, I don't know. That's kind of my jam. I do like a good buffalo wing though too. I do like a good buffalo wing. So
number here.
My wife makes some great pulled pork. Like that's always a good one. Pulled pork sandwiches.
Yeah, on the Hawaiian roll there, the King's Hawaiian roll.
Yeah, and you know what the secret is? You don't like buy slices of cheese. Just like cut off like big thick pieces of like Colby Jack and put it on there too. Way better. Like,
also,
nice
wash all this down with a Narragansett.
Yeah,
definitely.
Wink, wink, nod.
Everything's better with a Gansett, and there's a Gansett that pairs well with everything. So,
it's true. It's true.
I don't know if you guys have any more questions or anything. I gotta go read a bedtime story to this little guy right here. You guys can definitely continue. I feel like we had an awesome conversation. Y'all can keep it going for real, because I feel like you guys are ready to rock. John, go grab a monster, because I know. Hold on, what was that? What did you? I thought that was a monster. I was like, dude, like
Bud Light Seltzer or something, right? Isn't that
lemonade seltzer?
Lemonade seltzer.
What is that? Like some like kind of like a Mike's Hard lemonade hybrid type stuff.
It's not as hard as a Mike's Hard. It's only 5%, but it's good. It's flavorful.
What's your alcohol choice? You're a tequila guy?
Oh, I'm a vodka Sprite.
Vodka? Okay.
Yeah. But tequila only if I'm getting crazy.
Now, Brown, I'm getting crazy. Brown, I'm not watching football. I'm punching the TV off on Brown. I quit that a long time ago. But these days, though, I'm drinking juice, guys, because Burrow is coming into our lives. He's changed my life around. I've got my act together. I used to be a wild guy. I'm juicing it now for the day that I get to interview Joe. I need to be on all P's and Q's. I don't need to be all hammered, asking Joe about stupid stuff about like muffins, because I really want to get into muffins. Like every interview, lemon poppy seed is probably the most underrated muffin in the whole entire world.
I don't like lemon stuff because it's usually like really fake, but lemon poppy seed like that does work. Like lemon loaf is crap though. I'm not down with lemon loaf.
This is the content that people want.
And to really wrap up the conversation and circle back to it, all right, when it comes to orange soda, Crush, you're crushing it. Like Orange Crush, number one. Fanta, pretty solid. Sunkist, get the hell out of here.
Yes! Sunkist is so weak. It's got like some weird little ink taste to it. What is that? What is that?
It's like anything but Sunkist.
It's called Red 40, right? The coloring Red 40 or something like that.
My nephew is like, he comes to my house. He's like, I can't drink that juice. It's got Red 40 in there. I'm like, man, drink this stuff up. I give him all the cheap juice and I got all the good juice and stuff to myself. But he's always talking about that Red 40 and stuff. But Sunkist is so trash. And I go to places and I ask them specifically, what kind of pop is that? And if they say that, then they look at me like I'm an asshole. I'm like, no. Let me just get, Sprite, Yeah, Stewart. Yeah, don't sleep on Stewart's.
Zim, before you all hop out here, why don't you plug your merch for anyone who doesn't know? Because I'm about to get some.
Bet. I got you.
Yeah.
Send me your address. I got you some stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead and plug it.
Okay, so if you guys want to I don't have it on tonight. This is another big Bengals guy too. Rohan makes this stuff called Protect Joe Burrow. But that's a really cool Bengals guy. But he sent me some cool stuff. Rohan TV, check him out. But my stuff is zimhude.com. That's it. But it's Burrow Baby's got some cool stuff on there. That's it.
I rock my shirt on air, dude. I rock my shirt on air for you.
Hey, Ace is not here, but Ace has got mugs. He's got some really cool merch too. He's got New Stripe City. If you guys are new to seeing me or seeing us or whoever, Ace Boogie, New Stripe City. His stuff is pretty cool too. Check him out on. I think his link is directly on his YouTube. He crushes it on YouTube. So if you guys really like Bengals content and just stuff, he did a cut the tape on for Slater earlier. I think yesterday or today. So people that are just scared to death of us drafting Slater, I encourage you to go check that out too. But Matt, did you ever print that stuff up?
What was that?
Remember you said you were going to start printing your stuff
Matt's
up.
got merch too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I got merch. Yeah.
So
Yeah, if you've seen my EXO smiley face with the tiger stripes thing, I got all kinds of merch and that stuff. So check out my Twitter. There's a link in there. We got shirts, we got hoodies, we have throw pillows. Nobody bought the throw pillow yet, but I thought it looked cool, so I put it in there. There's all types of stuff on there. So some nice tiger stripe logo on there. Check it out.
We don't have merch.
And
It's
yes,
just
we have
my-
tank top, JC.
Oh yes. Gotta show off the guns when I can, you know.
Yeah.
So we don't have merch. It's just gonna be John and my face, just pictures of our face on a shirt. Just so everybody.
We're not real YouTubers, man. We're
We should
really not.
have
We're
a
lacking.
group. We should have a group Mount Rushmore of our faces or something. Like
Ooh,
a five Mount Rushmore.
I bet you.
Edit where they put us in the Bulls. That was pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should put the last dance photo.
Oh,
on
that'd be
our
great.
shirt or
I
something.
have a lot of real clothes that are
We're gonna make that
really
I'll wear that every
cool.
day.
Right, I got cool stuff in one closet, and then I have another closet with the dumbest stuff that you could think of, and stuff like that is stuff that I like. Like I really
Yeah,
like.
yeah.
I buy the dumbest stuff you could ever think of, like just so I could wear it around the house, and then. You know, like my wife, she wears like bunny suits and like anything that's stupid like that. Even yesterday, I had like the dumbest like tiger hat, and people were like, "Where'd you get it?" And it was like my son's hat. But you know, I like silly stuff like that. Like, so if you print that up, I will buy it, 100%. Seriously, I gotta go.
All right, dude.
All right. Yeah, I gotta go check out my pop pie too. So
All right. Well, for Matt, for Zim, for John, I'm Anthony. One other thing just to plug at the end here. We had Ken Anderson on our show last week. Go support the Ken Anderson Alliance Fund. Really good nonprofit, and they're doing some cool things. And just we as a website, as a podcast channel, want to go show that guy some support and what he's doing there. So please, if you can, we're gonna get some stuff and do some giveaways. Had some Ken Anderson giveaway stuff on our show. So I just wanted to plug that. Matt and
Great
John,
gift.
anything else?
I just got my dad a T-shirt from there for Christmas. So yeah, that's some really cool stuff on there too, and obviously for a great cause.
Yep. John, anything else before we hop out of here, bud?
Nah, just get another Ganser or get a Bud Light Seltzer, whatever.
Yeah,
All
Super
right.
Bowl weekend. Let's do it.
do it.
This has been this. Yep. This has been fun. This has been the Cincy Jungle podcast mega show, super show heading into Super Bowl 55. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.